Welcome back to Invest Global. Today we're going to be digging into a project that has been requested multiple times from the viewers of this channel, Holochain. We'll be talking about their native token, the white papers, their approach to marketing, which I absolutely love. It's really no hype. That's really what I focus on in this channel is promoting these projects that are really in it for the long term. Yes, there's these projects that come and go in the blockchain space. That's kind of part of the system. It's a feature, not a bug, right? It's part of having kind of this open source place where you have things like, anyone can come on to a Holochain or anyone can come on to these different blockchains and really build a decentralized application. Anyone can pop up a token, but it really matters the long-term perspective. So what they're truly building, the community, all these different things. I talk about this in the How to Do Your Own Research video, linked down below in the description. And that's really based on sentiment, right? Like the community sentiment, the kind of engagement on social media, things like this, and just overall what the project is doing. So let's dive right into it. Holochain, they describe themselves as an end-to-end open source peer-to-peer app framework. Now, this may seem like gibberish to some, but really at the end of the day, they're taking a different approach from a lot of other blockchain projects and actually kind of having an individual ledger for each individual application on Holochain rather than just having one blockchain, for example, ERC20 or Ethereum or the Bitcoin blockchain, where every single transaction is posted on the open source ledger. You know, for example, Bitcoin, every 10 minutes, a new block is confirmed, and it kind of moves on from there. But Holochain takes a bit of a different approach. And that's, again, this no hype approach may not be, people have this kind of ADHD in society, so they get drawn towards things that are flashy. But I think it's very important to, kind of form a moat around a project, which is what Holochain is doing. So they, when you ask why Holochain, well, Holochain helps by creating an alternative to the dominant centralized systems of the internet, protecting the ability to make our own choices and giving trustworthy information we can act on. We call this digital agency. And by the way, I really highly recommend, they have this great video when you break down what is Holochain. And I think this guy, yes, this one right here, I highly recommend this. Maybe I'll have this link down below in the description. But he really goes into kind of the more technical details. In the beginning, it's just a basic intro, but then he goes into the more technical details. And I think it's really great by Paul Dioust. Definitely check that out. So we can kind of dig into this. So when they say an application framework, what does this really mean? Well, Holochain is an open source framework for creating peer-to-peer applications that are secure, reliable, and fast. Instead of depending on servers, Holochain applications connect user devices directly to each other in the secure networks. This gives users the best of both worlds, the autonomy and availability of locally installed software with the power. So that's a huge part. Just to pause for a second. The autonomy and availability of the locally stored software. So this is the problem with a lot of these blockchains. Let's take Ethereum, for example. In the blockchain trilemma, you have decentralization, you have kind of speed and scalability, and then you have privacy. And where something like XRP, for example, fails in this blockchain trilemma, and the reason it's a trilemma is kind of the rule with it is every blockchain project that comes out really fails at one of the three pillars. They do great in the other two. For example, XRP is not very decentralized, so they kind of fail in the decentralized pillar. They're private and they're secure. Obviously, it's relative, right? Relative to what? But they fail in the decentralized space. But really, what I see Holochain is doing is they're fixing all of this, right? So they have this nice decentralization by using this, as they say, kind of this open source framework and peer-to-peer applications. So there's nothing hidden behind a curtain, which we have in the current kind of centralized legacy systems. But what they're doing is, instead of having all of this kind of in one blanket like Ethereum does, and that's kind of why Ethereum has scalability issues, and that's why they're moving to proof of stake instead of proof of work. With these new developments in Ethereum, which is great because the gas fees are so high. But what Holochain does that's specifically incredible is they have each of the projects building on it, not necessarily on the Holochain blockchain, but rather they kind of have their own individual ledgers. So again, this is what they're talking about when they say locally installed software, right? So it's easily available. So the availability is a huge factor, and the autonomy is giant. So with the power of redundancy of cloud software application developers in return no longer have to maintain and pay for cloud hosting. So that is huge. I've covered many other projects like Cold Stack. Let's see, there's a couple others that do really great things in the in really the kind of cloud storage space, except using kind of something like IPFS, for example, the interplanetary file system that Filecoin uses. That's a decentralized storage network. So it's that you can watch my videos on those. That gets a little bit more complicated. I don't want to bore you with that too much, But I did want to show you this, and we'll kind of return and talk about some of this Medium article right here, and then also talk about their token. But go give them a follow on Twitter at Holochain. They do these weekly sessions where they do ecosystem sessions. So if you're a developer, you should definitely, if you're looking for other blockchains to build on, definitely go join these. And I think it's great. I mean, this space is just teeming with people coming in wanting to develop new decentralized applications. And when I see projects that are focused on long-term scalability and long-term sustainability, it makes me really happy. And I think that's really what they're doing here. You can tell they're really genuine in these developer meetings. So definitely go check that out in those ecosystem sessions. So agent-centric. Now, what does this mean? Agency. He talks about that a lot in this video. This idea of personal agency and this idea of kind of having peers check on things. So and mutual accountability. So Holochain takes an agent-centric approach, putting you at the center of your computing experience. This isn't just a pleasant-sounding philosophy, it's actually how it's built. Applications run on your device, creating self-owned identities and data. So that is massive in this space. It's something that Cardano is really working to do. When they fully roll out, I think that the identity thing is huge. It's all still centralized. Just think about how most countries operate. You have a driver's license or some form of documentation through an ID or a passport. These are analog, right? So you lose your passport. For example, I'm here in Tbilisi, Georgia, here in the Eastern Bloc, and let's say I lost one of my passports. Well, how do I get it back? I would have to there's no digital version. Yes, I do have like backup copies that are taking pictures of the passport, but the physical passport that you need is analog, right? So anything that's moving from analog to digital, especially analog to digital, and then moving past digital to kind of decentralized web, so the D-Web, which is what blockchain is all about, is just not only increments, but truly, I guess you could say, like exponential returns in productivity and in kind of the bettering of the system. So when you move these identities to self-own, for example, like in your private key, like let's say instead of having your credit score, I've talked about a lot of projects that do this. In the credit score space, Bird Money is one, and the Ledger Score is the other that I've been talking about. That really focus on taking back your own personal data, taking back kind of your credit score, especially in the blockchain, like in these centralized kind of legacy systems. You have your credit score stored with Equifax or TransUnion, and then they do hard pulls if you're applying for a credit card or applying for a loan or a car lease, all these different things. It's all centralized, and that's the beauty of having this agent-centric approach. So let's move on to encrypted peer-to-peer networks. So applications are more powerful when they can connect you with others. Each Holochain application creates its own encrypted peer-to-peer network between you and the other users. This means nothing can co-opt, control, or shut down your communications. And then you have mutual accountability. This is kind of that last piece of like subconsciousness. Again, if you really want to understand this, I would dig into this a little bit more, but this video is kind of meant to open the door, to kind of introduce you on this, because what I offer with all these videos is kind of to let me know in the comments if you want to see a deep dive into one individual aspect, or if you have any questions about the project, I can make a follow-up video. But I did want to introduce this to people watching this channel and anyone new, because I do think what they're doing here is great. I love this no hype approach, and we'll kind of talk about that. So I thought this was really interesting. So, a lot of the people in the community are like, hey, we hold this token. We want you to market it better, right? We want you to reach out to maybe top influencers in the space, which is a big thing in crypto, and kind of promote it, right? But they say, I call bullshit. And it's quite interesting how they break this down. So it's not a hype company. We're in this for the long term. We are a real enterprise doing the work to build and deliver infrastructure and applications that will power distributed hosting platforms, peer-to-peer applications. So what they're doing here is just beautiful. There's so many projects out here, right? So if you use contrast and you go, okay, Holochain versus some project that's just like a meme token that pops up, it's really stoic versus Epicurean, right? A nation is born stoic and it dies Epicurean. I think that's one of the things you want to take into mind. A lot of these projects coming out when, in the bull run, everybody's trying to develop, but then in the bear market is where I really find it interesting, when people are truly grinding and building these amazing things. So this is an interesting thing about Holochain is there isn't really a link to an individual white paper because they have multiple, right? So they have a green paper, they have this currency paper, which I read this currency paper is interesting. I'm probably going to dig into their green paper a little bit more, but what they talked about here is fascinating. So if you want to see a video on that, let me know in the comments. But I will have obviously everything we talk about linked down below in the description, just like every video. We'll wrap it up here with the HOLO tokens, ticker symbol HOT. So this is rank, 68 on CoinGecko rather. It's also on CoinMarketCap, but I prefer CoinGecko. So it's HOLO, right around 0.0082 cents, up about 6.7% on the daily market cap of around $1.5 billion with a 24-hour trading volume of $164 million. You can see circulating supply is same as max supply, right? So basically they've rolled out all these tokens. There's not much more that are being held back like a lot of other projects. You saw this massive spike up. And that's really why I decided to cover it now, is because for the longest time, I'm like, man, I'm not going to buy in when it got this ridiculous spike. I mean, the percentage gain there is pretty insane, right? So 0.0012, I think it almost got up to, almost got up to 3 cents, which is quite impressive. But now it's back down to these kind of lows. If we could fall a little bit more, we also could catch a little bit of a bounce back at these levels as a tiny bit of support. But yeah, that's all for this video. Let me know what you think about HOLO. What is your price prediction? If you have any questions about this, just let me know all of that down below in the description. Also, join the Telegram group, link down below in the description. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, so like, subscribe button all, invest global, and until next time.